Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Digi and Trevor's top albums of the year for 2015.
Yes.
Do you think I should make this two separate videos or just one giant video? Because I just fixed the, it would probably look a little better now. I got myself in a better position. No more mic blocking my face and camera too far to the left.
It's whatever. It's
All
your
right.
channel. I don't care.
I'm going to get it started. I have more. You only have like 4 left. Some of them are on my list, so I'm going to go through some of my top 10 albums of 2015. These ones are kind of in order. So, number 10, Every Hero Needs a Villain by Czarface. You've heard this.
Yes.
Very solid, boom bap, old school hip-hop album.
It reminded me of MF Doom, and funny enough, MF Doom features on the album.
You know, it's Inspector Deck is part of this group.
It's Inspector Deck and... who the fuck is the other guy?
I don't remember.
Isn't it? It's
He goes by Czarface on this. So. No, it's not Ghostface.
It's Inspector Deck and like fucking. It's
in any case, it's related to Wu-Tang.
It's 2 Wu-Tang guys and they're doing stuff.
Boom bap hip hop is funny for me because like for the most part I tend to like experimental and like more out there hip hop and like stuff. You know, I like stuff like Death Grips. I like Kendrick, who is more like conceptual. I like stuff like, Chance, who's more like got like a lot of stuff going on in the instrumentals. So like when the stuff that's just like boom bap beat, dude rapping, spitting bars, like I'm usually not as into. But there's usually like one album each year that comes out in that style that just somehow barely grabs me enough that I'm like, yeah, I'll listen to this for a while, and this year it was Czarface with Every Hero Needs a Villain.
2, isn't it? Every Hero Needs a Villain 2? I think it's the second
Yeah,
one.
it's like a sequel of some kind.
Yeah.
Or I think it's called Czarface 2, though. It's one of those.
It's the second album.
It's like... It's very old school, banger beats, bars, 3 or 4 guys rapping, throwing some features and stuff. Everyone's, really good. They're rapping about just like, being the best in the game, this and that. But all of it's like really clever metaphors, lots of great puns, which I'm a fan of puns.
Right.
Lots and lots of comic book references. The whole thing is like steeped in this comic book attitude.
That's what like really made me think of MF Doom.
Right. It has sort of like a Dr. Doom looking cover art too.
That shtick.
But what's interesting about it, because MF Doom is all about being a villain, and this one, Czarface is supposed to be a hero, but then it's sort of like a duality thing where, like, 'cause there's a skit in there, like, at the beginning, where they're, telling all the kids at home, like, yes, if you want to be a hero, you have to grab a gangster friend, because every hero needs a villain, and, it's got, like, all these corny sketches, but none of them, like, outstay their welcome, because when you get into a Ludacris album or something, where there's, like, minutes-long sketches, and you're just like, oh, God, make it end. This one, they're all clever, the samples are clever and stuff, and, I don't know. It's not something I can quite listen to, like, just actively, but, like, I listened to a lot of it when I was playing Axiom Verge, and it's great video game background music. Just something to bump in the background,
It's
and,
very enjoyable. I got my
lots
roommate.
of clever little lyrics in there.
My roommate liked it a lot as well. He wanted me to give it to him, so I obliged. Gave it to him.
Up next, here's one that I guess didn't make your list, but I do think you liked it. Was Painted Shut by Hopalong.
That, y'all, everyone's car I got into this summer, Eva Tolentino, they were playing this album, and it is very good. I like her vocals, they're kind of raw, but I had only just recently downloaded it 2 weeks ago.
Here's the funny thing. Okay, this album, I loved it, but I'm completely sick of it. Like, it got so played out over the summer, like, for the exact reason you said. Because it's a short album. It's only like half an hour. There's one song, track 5, I think, I just completely don't like, and I had, like, taken it off my computer. So it's really only 9 tracks for me. They're in, like, a weird order. I actually reordered the track list on my computer.
Oh.
Like, I found a track list, like that I liked more, and I would always, like, format it that way when I listened to it. But, like, it's a bunch of solid indie rock tunes, just, like, fun, cool songs. The girls' vocals, again, are very raw, very interesting. there's sort of a Manchester Orchestra sound to a lot of the songs, which is one of my favorite bands, notwithstanding their last album. But like, and the last track on here, Sister Cities, is one of my top 5 songs of the year. It was definitely, it was my favorite song of the year until I heard Jeff Rosenstock's You in Weird Cities. So Cities, for some reason, theme among my favorite songs. That one is, in fact, which we'll talk about in a bit. But like, yeah, Sister Cities is a phenomenal song. Closes off the album in a great way. Powerful Man's a really catchy, like, fun song that got me into the album. Waitress is another fun song. There's a few that I wasn't into at first, and then I liked them more later. But I think what really kills this album for me is the production. The bass is too loud in these songs for the, like, it's just very muddy. Like, the songs sound muddy. You know, it just doesn't sound like it's mixed right, at least not how I would prefer it to be, you know. So it bothers me enough that like I'll like, especially in the car, like, it doesn't sound good in the car. It sounds better out of my speakers, but like other than that, I mean, it's fun and it was cool. I really enjoyed it over the summer. I probably listened to it upwards of 50 times, you know. Victor was listening to it. Brandon, and Victor feels the same way I do. He's totally sick of it. Right. He doesn't like it anymore. You know, Brandon was listening to it and stuff. So yeah, I guess I would compare it to the summer blockbuster. You know, like, I didn't have a movie I saw this summer, but I had that album and I did play it quite a bit and got myself sick of it. I'll do one more that I don't think you've heard at all, which is the new Busdriver album, Thumbs.
No, but I've heard y'all talk about Busdriver quite a lot, and I think I find myself Googling them or he or
him. Yeah. He's a guy. Busdriver is a very interesting artist that I only like a little bit of his overall output, because he started in the early 2000s and he did a lot of jazz rap, which is where he was like straight up jazz songs that he was rapping over, and they're all like bizarre sounding. Like, it's not like Kendrick where it's got more pop appeal and stuff. This is just like spitting crazy weird verses. He uses lots of like really like advanced language. Like, he's a rapper who would send me to the dictionary, you know, or like give me pause to try to figure out what the fuck he's trying to say, you know. I consider myself fairly intellectual and knowing a lot of words, and he is definitely above me in that regard. And they're also confusing and esoteric a lot of the times, but like, I wasn't really into any of his older stuff, but he put out an album last year called Perfect Hair, which was one of my favorite albums of last year, where he sort of took his weirdness and channeled it into more modern sounds, more electronic sounds, and more like accessible sounds. I wouldn't say it sounds anything like popular modern rap at all, but he definitely like figured out how to make something that was like more accessible. Thumbs is sort of like a runoff of that album, where it's like a mixtape of stuff that was like aborted ideas from that, or like continuing the thoughts from that album and stuff like that. A few songs on here are fucking phenomenal. He has, in terms of like a great pop hit, the song Much, which sounds kind of like a Chance the Rapper song almost, in terms of the beat, but it's just him singing about how him and his friends do too much shit, and he's like, I might dislocate my rotator cuff because I'm doing too much. I'm just doing all of my favorite stuff and I'm doing too much. And it's catchy and fun. The song Worlds to Run featuring Milo. Milo's like sort of almost like an understudy of Busdriver, or he's a big fan, and they're in the same or they were in the same label. Milo I've grown a lot less interested in over the years, and he put out an album this year that is good but not on my list. I didn't like it enough, but I loved his verse in Worlds to Run by Busdriver. It had probably my favorite beat of the year. Both of those songs that I just talked about are in my favorites list, as well as I don't remember the name of the other one. Yeah, there's like a few really amazing songs. There's some stuff on there that's totally weird and throwaway. There's a really weird track that's Dell's Couch. It's Dell the Funky Homo Sapien, and
like, is he on the song?
It's only like a minute and a half long, and it's just a Dell song. Like, it's not, the Busdriver's not on it at all. The beat sounds like something off of the last Dell album from last year, like the really like heavy one that he did called, fuck, what was it? It was on my honorable mentions last year. It sounds like a song from the last Dell album that just is on this album for no reason. No Busdriver feature at all. Super weird. I think what it might be is that Busdriver produced the beat to sound like one of Dell's recent beats and then just brought him on to rap over it. I think that might be what it is, because it doesn't have a production credit on it, so which usually means he produced it himself, because he also produces some stuff. So, yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of really cool songs. There's some stuff that's kind of hit or miss, but, like, I grew on this album in the last month while listening to it. Like, when it first came out, I liked, like, 3 songs, and the rest I thought was shit. And then, like, after listening to it a lot to make this list, then it broke into my top 10. I thought it was going to be an honorable mention, and I ended up liking it more than Czarface and possibly Painted Shut, since I'm fucking sick of that album. All right, you can go now.
All right. I guess we'll start with Unknown Mortal Orchestra, Multi-Love.
I knew this was going to be in there.
Yeah, man. Great album. I feel like I probably played that out a lot through the summer. I think I got... That's on their first album, though.
Oh, that's not on Multi-Love?
No.
I thought that was the song Multi-Love.
Nope.
How does Multi-Love go?
There's like a weird like piano thing at the beginning. It's like
I'm not into Unknown Mortal Orchestra. Shade got really into this album.
I think I ruined him.
Shade loves this album that you're talking about.
It is a great album. I had only been into them a little bit. Listened to them a lot at school, their first 2 albums, and I found out they had a new one coming out, and I was like, oh, great. Really kind of, what do I want to say, kind of psyche a little bit.
Very washed out, reverby sound.
This album is definitely super funky, though. Like, he's riding that wave of funkiness, I guess, that started with Daft Punk and whatever.
It's along the lines of that, the Daft, but not that.
It's not like it's electronic.
It's odd because it's lo-fi, but it's really well produced.
It is.
Like, it's not like lo-fi, like as in they don't know what they're doing. It's like lo-fi aesthetically, but they clearly know how to produce stuff.
And there's actually a song exploder for one of his songs too, for the title track Multi-Love.
Oh, is it one guy?
Yeah, well, it's one guy, but he has like a touring band.
Great.
His name's Ruben Nielsen. He was in a band with his brother called the Mint Chicks or something, some punk band, and he's from New Zealand. Anyways, the whole like concept of this album is literally about like multi-love and polyamory, because like he met some fan or something and they really clicked, and like he told his wife like
fuck did my pen go?
He like told his wife like you ever just like feel like you can be in love with more than one person or something, and I guess they just clicked, and like he has like kids and shit and everything too, so
it's in my toes.
Oh,
I was holding it between my toes and I didn't know where it was.
Gross. But anyways, it's a fun album. It's got some sad parts. Multi-Love's kind of a sad song a little bit, or it's more like he's having an epiphany, I think. He's in awe of the power of love. And then, 2 songs after that are pretty fun, and so is Can't Keep Checking My Phone, which I think is actually like something that actually happened to him. Like he was texting the girl or whatever, she was texting him, and like he was texting her, and she was like in the rainforest or something, and she's like, I'll talk to you later, I can't keep checking my phone, and then he just fucking made that into a song. It's pretty fun. He seems like a nice dude. He's cool. Yeah.
Speaking of cool, We Cool? By Jeff Rosenstock is the next album on my list. Can't believe I haven't bought this on vinyl yet. It should be up on this wall because I've liked it for a while. This is an album where the lead singles immediately grabbed me. The song You in Weird Cities is easily my favorite track of the year. It gets me really emotional. It's a song about... Because this dude's been around for a long time.
Yeah. Jeff
Rosenstock's been in like a lot of... He was in some influential like ska punk bands and stuff, and he's been in bands with members of like Andrew Jackson Jihad and you know them?
Yeah.
And some other bands like that. And so this song is about like how like most of those old band members have moved away, and like, they're all like moving on with their lives and like living like normal people, and he's like just this like 35-year-old bum who still smokes a lot of weed and doesn't do anything. And so it's just like a song about him like being like, man, all my friends moved away. But then when he listens to their albums that they're putting out, then he feels like he's hanging out with them again, and it takes him back. which when I first heard this song, I didn't realize all that context behind it because I hadn't listened to the lyrics. I just thought it was about friends moving away and then you listening to their favorite albums and feeling like you were hanging out with them, and that connected with me because a lot of our friends have moved away, and I could listen to like Earl or something to think about Brando, or for Marcus like some mindless self-indulgence. So yeah, it was like the lyrical content was relatable, and the song's also like a kick-ass fun punk rock song that's got the feels to it, so a lot of times blasting that song max volume and getting really emotional. This album and then the other lead single, Nausea, which is to put simply, I got so tired of discussing my future, I started avoiding the people I love, with evenings of silence and mornings of nausea, shake and sweat and I can't grow up. It's like a fun song that's sad, but then once you listen to the rest of it, the deep cuts, like those two songs are like kind of poignant but like fun. The rest of it's just depressing. Oh. Then you get to Beers Again Alone, which is a song about drinking beers alone because you're always waiting for your friends to be around, but your friends are off having fun doing other shit, and so you just, if no one comes over, you get drunk by yourself. Story of my life. So yeah, that one was pretty heavy hitting for me. The song fucking, oh god, I'm serious, I'm sorry. This song fucked me up. It's about he's like at a party, and like I don't know if it was like that he said something or just didn't understand the situation, but like basically it's like someone at this party he's at breaks down crying because they're reminded of someone who died. And he is standing there and he's drunk and he wants to like say something to comfort them, but he doesn't want to come across as like an asshole, and because he's like too wasted he can't like leave or do anything, so he just ends up like watching this play out and feeling like shit. And the song's about him like reflecting on like how much of a shitbag he feels like and how sorry he is that like he was there for this moment and like didn't know what to say and like didn't want to, it's a kind of situation that I've kind of been in a lot on the internet where like I know I've hurt people's feelings and not known what to say about it, and like kind of felt bad about it later, but just been like I don't know what to do, like and the way the song's presented is fucking heart-wrenching. The only reason this album's not super high on my list is that the first like 6 songs are fantastic and the rest is totally take it or leave it. I don't it's all like there's some interesting songs there, but like nothing all that memorable or stand out. This is the kind of stuff that like I only get it stuck in my head because I've heard the album so many times that like I can still think of what those songs sounded like. But like the first 6 are phenomenal tracks. If the second half was as good as the first half, this could have been probably one of my top 3, probably my second favorite of the year. But like yeah, I don't know. It kind of doesn't hold up. I guess I'll go for another one. This is another one you didn't listen to at all. And this is one that's not on anyone else's favorites list.
Is it something you recommended me?
No. I don't think you'd like it.
Oh.
This is not on a lot of favorites lists for like music connoisseur people. It's more for people who are into this type of music. But it's Act 4, Rebirth and Reprise by The Deer Hunter.
I've heard of this.
So The Deer Hunter is what is considered like modern prog or indie prog band, where they sort of have like elements of prog music, elements of like this big like luscious production and stuff, and their songs are like a rock opera, or not so much a rock opera, but telling a story. They're concept albums set in like the 1800s, telling this man's life story. Each album tells a different part of his story, and like I came up on this kind of music. Like when I was a teenager, when I got into music, I was really into concept albums and like modern prog stuff. I loved Coheed and Cambria, fucking the Mars Volta, Tool, like all bands that did like really conceptual but very accessible rock music, And The Deer Hunter have always been sort of like a small band. They've never been like famous or anything. Not a lot of people know about them. I found out about them because they toured with Coheed and Cambria, and then later with Manchester Orchestra, who both bands I like, or I found out about Manchester Orchestra through that. And I like both those bands more than the Deer Hunter ultimately. But the first 3 ACT albums I was a really big fan of, and I've been listening to them for years. And in the last 3 years, all these modern prog bands, all these indie prog bands, all of them have released shit albums that I hated. Fucking Coheed has released 4 albums I hate now. I'm done with them, right? Manchester Orchestra's not as proggy anyways, but like their latest album kind of sucked. And then the Deer Hunter, they had, after Act 3, they put out the Color Spectrum EPs, which was like each color in the color spectrum, they had a 4-track EP dedicated to it. And it was a really interesting project and really cool, and it had some great songs on there. But like overall, I didn't like the less like conceptual sound. I mean, it was conceptual because each album's a color, but like it wasn't a story. It didn't feel as like grand and epic. And then they put out this album called Migrant that just sucked. It was just like normal ass, no concept, no real anything. It sounded like they were trying to make like a more radio friendly, accessible type album, and it wasn't good. It was boring. I know there's a lot of people who that's their favorite Deer Hunter album, people who don't like the high concept stuff, but like Act 4 is like they completely were trying to go back to the ACT sound, and like they brought with them the new things they learned. And I would say the lead singer, Casey Crescenzo, the singer-songwriter guy, he has learned to sing way better than he used to be able to. Like, his vocals on the first 3 ACT albums are the first 2 especially, are garbage. Like, Victor actually told me that he got into them because I would sing over them, and I'm a better singer than the lead singer. Particularly, like, the songs are all in my range. That's part of why I like the band so much, is that, like, it's really fun to sing their songs, and they're all, like, right in my vocal range. But, like, this album, Act 4 is not as good as the first 3, but it is the least disappointed I've been with an album by a band I used to be into. Like, after, like, 5 years of being disappointed in Coheed albums and like, not being into the new Opeth releases and stuff like that, just getting an album that actually is at least close to being as good as the old ACT albums, where there's some great songs on here. There's even the song Waves, which is like the lead single from the album, which sounds more like Migrant or the Color EPs, was actually a great song and like one of the best on the album. So like, yeah, it's all around solid. My biggest complaint about it is that like it's pretty long and it feels very conceptual for a certain stretch, and then the last 5 songs are just like tacked on. Like, I think the story part ends, and then there's just, like, 5 more tracks, which is kind of how Act 2 was, but those other songs felt like they were, like, side stories to the main story, which might be what these ones are, but they're weird. The last 5 songs are really weird. But overall, it's a really solid album, and I'm glad a band I used to be into didn't disappoint me for once, because I was starting to wonder if I just liked all those old albums for nostalgia, or, like, would I like them if they came out today? And now I know I would. So, yeah, you can go ahead now.
All right. Viet Cong, self-titled, came out earlier this year in January, I think. I had always seen the album cover everywhere. They're like, listen to this album, blah, blah, blah. Right. This music friend I made in Florida was like, yeah, Viet Cong, shit is awesome. And I was just like, I never really, I didn't believe the hype, as they say. And then, right. Like, the first day I get back, Tolentino picks me up, and he's playing Viet Cong in the car, and it's just like this... Pretty sure he's just playing the beginning of the album. It's just like this bombastic fucking beat. Like, it sounds like gunshots, like the drums. Uh-huh. It's like boom, 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 boom. And then like this dude comes in and he's like wailing. It's great. And then that's like the opener.
Sounds like hell.
No, it's awesome. It's like
gunshots and wailing.
It fits. It's not like dissonant or anything. Like, right. It fits. I mean, it's harsh, but it's good. And then it's like a very I don't want to say archaic, but it's abrasive music. But then there's also like these really beautiful parts too. Like, there's these little synths on some songs that, they're like counter melodies almost, or like they do these arps on their guitars like during really heavy parts. And that's awesome. There's also this one song. My favorite song is Silhouettes, and I think that's Tolentino's too. And it's about getting drunk and regretting things you do. Like, the chorus is, There's no connection left in your head. Another book of things to forget. An overwhelming sense of regret. Relay, reply, react, and reset. And then I didn't notice this until I was walking around Target one day, but throughout the whole song, basically, there is this incredibly high note on the piano, probably like the very last key, and it's just going ding, 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 ding.
I just realized I was scratching my balls on camera.
It's fine.
Let's just put the notebook over here.
Yeah. And that piano's there, and I never really noticed it, but I was like, holy shit, like that, like I never realized that texture was there, and I don't know, it like really took me by surprise, because I was like, there's no way there's a piano on this album. But it was awesome. And then the last song is called Death, and it's 12 minutes long, and it's pretty repetitive as well, and it just starts with this drum beat. It's like dun, 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 dun. And then there's like a guitar, the guitar, and then the drum beat, and then the bass comes in, and then the dude's just, singing about whatever. And then about like 4 minutes into the song, there's like a kind of a breakdown a little bit, or like a bridge, and then it just devolves into pure chaos where they're like hitting the same like notes over and over, and it's incredibly loud, and it just gets me so like fucking pumped. I'm like, I want to fucking break
Sounds like
something.
some fucking Swans shit.
It is fucking awesome. And then after that, after they play, like they slow down too as they're like playing this note over and over, and then it just stops, and then they go back to like really melodic shit, and it's like at a faster tempo, and then he's quoting some Nietzsche shit, and and then the album ends. Like he's like screaming. Then before it ends, like
it's a very nihilistic album.
It's awesome. I love it. It's great. Before the song ends, they go back to the same notes they were playing, and he's saying the Nietzsche shit, and then it ends. It definitely has my interest peaked for their new album. I guess I should say they're formally known as Viet Cong, because they received a lot of flack for using that name from people being upset.
Pussies. All right.
Fucking liberal cucks.
All right, the top 5 albums for me. We're gonna start on them.
Oh boy.
Jenny Death.
Jenny Death. When?
People.
Now apparently.
Yeah, Jenny Death. What happened?
Fine.
Funnily, people were shocked that I didn't put this in my video of my favorite stuff of 2015. It's out of these top 5, it's the only one song in there. Jenny Death was an album that I had a really difficult time finding a time and place for, because it's really loud, it's really abrasive, it's really intense, it's chaotic, it's insane, it's just like, especially like the midsection of it, like, because it's funny when I think about like the individual songs. There's a lot of songs that I like on it. Inanimate Sensation is easily one of my top 5 favorite Death Grip songs. And it's not in my top songs of the year list because it came out in 2014. Like they released it before the album, and it was on my list of favorite songs from that year. But like that song's fucking incredible. What's it called? The Powers That Be. Why a Bitch Gotta Lie, which is just insanity. But it's Why a Bitch Gotta Lie, 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 with like, and then these like hard rock guitars are like, it's like, what the fuck is this shit? And then like the robot voice that's like going down and yeah, it's fucking weird. And then On GP, which is like the saddest, most depressing Death Grip song. That's just like this long, slow song about suicide. And it's just like legitimately sad. Like all those songs are great, but there's other songs that are just chaos, and like I can't like have it on in the background. I can't just like put it on and like listen to it. I have to be mad. I have to be like ready to thrash shit. Like the one time that I remember listening to the whole album was I was super wasted, and I watched all of BoJack Horseman season 1.
God.
And then I threw on, that album. And like the opening track, I Break Mirrors with My Face in the United States.
Great song.
Would be one of my favorite songs, but I hate the mixing on it so much. Like basically all of the treble is really high and all the bass is really low.
Yep.
And you have to play it as loud as possible for it to sound anywhere near good. Like, you have to blast the song. And, but after watching BoJack, I was really drunk, and I was I was in there in the bathroom looking in the mirror, just going, should I break this with my face? And I was legitimately debating the logic of it because I was like, I could afford a new mirror. And I was like, would it be worth it to be able to say that I listened to this song and broke a mirror with my face? And I had to like talk myself down. Like, it's not worth it. You're just going to hurt yourself. You're going to have to pick up all this glass. You know, you get to buy a replacement mirror. It's probably more expensive than you think. And yeah. So I talked myself out of it. But
good.
The last song on here, the one, like, this album I think should have ended on GP. It ends on a song called Death Grips 2.0, which honestly just kind of sounds like a regular electronica song that like any other band could have made. So it's weird that it's called Death Grips 2.0, and it's kind of like, I hope this isn't what they're gonna sound like in the future.
On Bottomless Pit.
Yeah, but like yeah, it's a really solid album, and I do like it a lot. It's just like compared to like Ex-Military, where I really like almost all the songs, or The Money Store, where I feel the same way. You know, I wouldn't... And I even... Niggas on the Moon, part 1 of the Powers That Be collection, because this is part 2.
Yeah.
I was more into that album than I was into this one. That one was like... Because it's like 30 minutes long, and it's very tight and concise, and it just kind of sounds like one song. Like, it's one...
Isn't that the one that's all... It has like a bunch of Bjork samples?
Yeah, it's all built out of Bjork samples, and it like all just like runs into each other. Like, each song just kind of continues into the next. And... yeah, which is interesting because like from that album, I couldn't tell you like one song that I think is amazing, but the whole thing as a whole is like really great. This was Victor's favorite Death Grips album, Jenny Death. A lot of people's, but it wasn't.
I enjoyed it. I think I probably like The Money Store the most. Maybe Ex-Military. I've only listened to this one once, and the one time I played it, I was blasting it from my laptop, and my roommate's girlfriend later asked me. She said. What were you listening to? It sounds like a wooden roller coaster or like construction or something. And I was just like, fucking Death Grips, dude. Like, get with it or get the fuck out.
Yeah, Ex-Military was my favorite for the longest time, but I think The Money Store might be taking the crown lately.
Watch the throne.
And then just to go to another, I Love You, Honeybear, sitting right next to it, is probably my number 2 of the year.
That one... I listened to one time on the plane from Virginia to Florida in like August or whatever, and I think I was just emotional in general because I was leaving.
This album is soul crushing.
But yes, I cried on the plane listening to this album.
I Love You, Honeybear is very sad. It kind of lost impact in that regard once I'd listened to it more because I don't think it's as sad as I first thought it was. Where like the opening track is like apocalyptically sad. It's literally about him. It's basically like the world, the imagery of the song and the sound of the song is like the world is ending, but they're together, so it's okay. This whole album's about him getting married, basically. Yeah,
it's about that I knew.
Yeah, he got married, and it's sort of a romance album, but it covers like a lot of different aspects of romance. So like the opening track is just like, fuck the world, we have each other, that's all that matters. The video for it is super depressing. It's just a sad fucking song. But ironically, it then cuts into the most upbeat and happy song on the album, which is Chateau Lobby, which is a really sweet song about their courtship, and fucking has one of my favorite... for this year, we'll say my favorite lyric, where he says, first time you let me spend the night despite your own rules. You left off early to go cheat your way through film school. You left a note in your perfect script. Stay as long as you want, and I haven't left your bed since. And I was just like, oh, so heartwarming. It makes me want to get married and have a girlfriend. And then there's the song has like a lot of variety on it. The next track, which is True Affection, is more like a pop song, and it's about like internet relationships and just being like sick of having to talk through like phones and computers, just wanting to meet someone face to face, which I can relate to. And I like how the song sounds more like electronic and stuff because it's about electronic devices, so it makes sense. You know, he very much, each track on this album, like the sound of the song reflects what the lyrics are about. There's like a sort of like dragged out blues song about nothing ever good happens at the goddamn Thirsty Crow, which is like the first half is about someone flirting with his wife while she's at a bar, and him being like a message to the guy who's flirting with her, and then the second half is like a girl flirting with him and him being like, fuck off, I'm taken, you know. And like Bored in the USA, which as he put it is an ironic ballad. I'm not really into it musically, but I think it's an interesting concept for a song where it's just sort of about like malaise and like how it's sort of like how we blow out of proportion our like angst, you know. He's just like, I'm just bored, you know, like he's singing about the angst of being bored. Holy Shit, which is a song he wrote on his wedding day, which is just him listing off all the worst things in the world and then again saying like, but what is it? I don't know what that has to do with me and you know, like, because we're together. So yeah, a lot of like ironic, sarcastic lyrics on this, but they're all very cleverly written. Some of them very sweet, some of them very sad. I couldn't quite say that this would be like a guaranteed top 100 favorite album for me, just because I don't love every song on it. But the few that I Love You, Honeybear, the title track, and the song The Ideal Husband, which is about him like rattling off everything wrong with him, basically, and being like, wouldn't I make the ideal husband? You know, he's just like, it's really hard on himself, and it's like a heavy rock song. It's pretty fucking cool. So yeah, check it out.
All right. Next for me is the new Destroyer album.
Oh yeah,
Poison Season, which I'd gotten into Destroyer a few years ago thanks to Brandon Tolentino. He played me Destroyer's Thief, which was like his first album that was like really him, like it was really polished. It wasn't some lo-fi bedroom recordings. And I've been a fan ever since. Brandon showed me that, and I slowly worked through his discography in California. And his last album, Kaput, was like his first real like breakthrough, like super popular album, like to the level of the New Pornographers, which is the band he's mainly in. And it's like a departure from that style a little bit, where Kaput was kind of more like krautrocky, I want to say. It was pretty good. It was interesting. Some long songs on there. Poison Season is like kind of like lounge music, kind of. You know, it's very relaxed. It's like
chilled out,
sultry even. Dan Bahar and his beard. And God, what a great beard too. I don't usually like beards, but good beard. But anyways, the album like starts off with like this kind of weird, sad version of a song that's on the album later called Poison Season Part 1. And then right after that, it goes straight into Dream Lover, which is this it starts incredibly loud with this shrill saxophone, and it's just him singing to some girl, I'm sure. I love how cerebral Dan Bahar's lyrics are.
Yeah, he definitely has some like lyrics that make you think about shit.
Or they're just fucking esoteric too, or just they're just like, what the fuck does that mean?
Poetically so.
Yes, it's not just gibberish. It sounds good.
I want to say something about Destroyer. I have yet to get into him. I feel like I might eventually, because I like his sounds. I like that EP he did where like each song is really fucking long, and it's a little more electronic sounding.
Is it Notorious Lightning? Is that it? He's only done a few EPs. He's done that in
I think it's an EP. It's
and
kind
5
of long.
Spanish songs.
It might actually just be an album, but like but smaller track count because the songs are longer. The thing about Destroyer, I'm sure there's some people watching this who have been watching me since back in the My Little Pony days, who know me who know my taste in pony music. And back when I was big into that fandom, there was an artist called So Great and Powerful, who I was a really huge fan of, really huge like proponent of. Everyone and all of the people in like the section of the pony music fandom that I was a part of all really respected him. We did like tribute albums to him and stuff like that. And he sort of made like this jazzy, often sample based like pony music. And one time he did a track where he like remixed a bunch of Destroyer songs together.
Oh, what?
Right, he did like a mashup song. And then once I finally listened to Destroyer, I realized, oh, So Great and Powerful is just Destroyer. Like
I see.
Like he's just the pony music Destroyer. Like the voice he uses is almost exactly the same. The style of music, especially if you listen to the song like Dashie's Hearthwarming Eve or any of the stuff from his from the season 2 songs he did, like it's blatantly that like Destroyer was his biggest influence and he was just like kind of copying him. And there's a lyric that every time I think of Destroyer's voice, I think of a So Great and Powerful lyric where he says like, a kind voice, a gentle face, a friend who vanished without a trace. And that's exactly how he fucking sings, how Destroyer sings. So like when I listen to Destroyer, all I hear is SoGap. And like, that's a little rough for me because like I can't like listen to pony music anymore because It's like it's so from a bygone part of my life. I'm not really into it musically anymore. So Great and Powerful, as great as like his compositions were, like his production's not very good, and like I wouldn't have recognized it as much as at the time. But like now I listen to it and I pick out the issues I have with it and stuff, and I'm just less impressed with it. So I haven't really listened to his music in a long time. But like. Yeah, when I hear Destroyer, it's like I can't unhear SoGap. It's so fucking weird.
It's interesting. I wonder what a Destroyer would think of that himself. Have you seen like any interviews with him? He's like very dry, and he
seems like he would be like that.
I feel like he does not care that he is a star at all. Like I feel like he's almost annoyed by it.
SoGap was a guy who hid all of his music.
Uh-huh.
He hated everything he made. He was very not public, would never talk about himself, no social media accounts. He would post things and then like a couple months later he'd always delete it. So the only way that most people got into him is that someone made like an index of all of his music, and like that was like the main way anyone encountered his stuff. And then after like 2 years of making shit, he just fucking vanished off the face of the earth. Though Jeff Burgess was like friends with him. He hung out with him in person and stuff because they live in the same area. So
I see.
I know some details of his personal life. From what I've heard, he was like a little bit of a weirdo and an asshole. But I mean, a lot of musicians are weirdos and assholes, so I'm not that surprised by that. But yeah, it was really, really interesting because I didn't really listen to Destroyer until this year, and that was like the connection I made. But yeah, I don't know. I want to give Poison Season another shot.
It's definitely a lot different than any of his other albums. He's like on this upward trend of like since he's more popular now, or like he's probably making more money, he could take more risks now,
right.
I guess. Which doesn't really make sense because I feel like his older music is less accessible, and this is more. Who fucking knows?
Right. All right, I'm going to quickly blitz through my top 2 so we can get to the album that we both want to talk about.
Everyone knows coming.
Right. Well, because these two aren't on your list. And this one is sort of tied with I Love You, Honeybear as my number 2. This one, actually, I might be leaning more towards this, because I Love You, Honeybear has the more memorable songs, but this album I listen to way more. Third Side of Tape by Lil Ugly Mane.
Yes.
This is... And I talked about this in my top albums of my top stuff of 2015 list. It's 2 hours long. It's just 6 20-minute tracks of just random songs that Lil Ugly Mane recorded over the course of the last, like, I want to say 10 years or so. Like, just shit he had lying around. None of it has titles. He said that all of it was just, like, random file names. And according to Bandcamp, it's all made by him. Mm-hmm. It's like impossible to imagine that one man made all of this music because all of it's so different, like not anything in common with each other. Some of these songs, like a few of them are definitely like, oh, that's like a Lil Ugly Mane song. Like it sounds like his sort of like because he's like a hip hop producer who does like really noisy, like dissonant, fucked up sounds. He's sort of initially people like put him in with like the cloud rap sound, like Sad Boys and stuff like that. But like over time he's gotten like way more noisy and aggressive and doesn't sound as much like that. But then like a lot of the album will be like upbeat pop songs. There's some black metal songs. They're like terribly produced black metal songs. Like 10-minute noise tracks. Like, there's parts where it'll just be like weird electronic sounds, shit you've never heard before, shit that sounds like it was recorded in the 80s and dug up centuries later or something, like it doesn't sound like anything else. Like every song sounds like a different genre and they all sound different from each other. Like each one is like it invented a genre and they're not any of them are the same genre, there's like some really fun songs on there. There's like one like upbeat dance song called Infinite Rave. At least that's what I've called it, because the lyrics are Infinite Rave, Infinite Rave, and it's just like it's got like these upbeat like a pitch shifted upwards vocals. There's like now everybody shake your body, let me see you shout, like shit like that in the middle of this album that at other times it's just like for 10 minutes. Like, yeah, it's everywhere. There's songs that sound like Nujabes beats and stuff, like chilled out, like instrumentals. It's everywhere. And all of it, none of it is ever like so quite in your face, like other than the black metal songs, which I've many times I've wanted to go through this album and segment it into my own songs, give them my own titles, and make an album out of it. And then like I would probably cut out the black metal stuff entirely because it's not that great and it's like really abrasive. If not for those songs, all of this would be super chill. And like this was my go-to editing album. Like anytime I'm editing video and I had to have something on in the background, because it's long and you could just zone out and listen to it, and it's so varied that like you'd never get sick of it, you know. What even more so what I like to do is segment it into pieces and then listen to it on shuffle, because like this thing feels like such a treasure trove mystery. Like it feels like you're digging through a toy box and like just finding shit that you forgot about that you heard 10 years ago, and you're like, what is this, you know? And like, and that's how it feels. And like the discovery that I felt like the first 10 or so times I listened to this was like incredible. And even now, like I'll forget some of the songs that are on there and like I know the whole first track, like the whole first 20-minute stretch. I know what those songs are, but then I'll get deeper in and I'll be like, where am I? You know, I don't remember this at all. So yeah, it is a super fascinating album. And then he just put out a proper album at the very end of the year called Oblivion Access, which is just like really noisy, disgusting, grimy hip hop. And I love it. I think it could have probably made this list if not for the fact that it came out like a week ago, and right. I did not have time to listen to it. But yeah, Oblivion Access is pretty fucking slick too. And then my number one album of the year, Know Now, Clarence Clarity.
Oh yes,
I've talked about it quite a bit. As I always describe it, it sounds like if the deep web, the dark web, if it was conceptualized as a pop album, and then the computer that had that pop album got a virus. And you played it through broken speakers that you threw acid on, and it's just dissolving. Like, there's parts... One of my favorite parts on this album, there's, like, a song going, and it's, like, a sort of, like, upbeat, like, song. And then all of a sudden, it just pitch shifts down and slows down by 50% as it goes into its last verse. Ugh. And these really, like, interesting horns kick in. And it literally just becomes a demonic version of the same song. But really cool. Like, not like shock value sounding. It was just like, it's going along, and then all of a sudden it's like, and then these like horns kick in, and like his singing changes, and it's like, whoa, what's going on? And it sounds like that song just started melting. Like it, like the song itself has begun to melt before your ears. There's parts where it's just like suddenly sound collage. Like the last track is like this sort of like slow, like chilled out song for like 5 minutes, and then there's silence, and then all of a sudden it becomes this 4-minute chaotic collage of all the sounds of the album, like just rapid fire, like like that kind of thing, you know. Ugh. But it's like all the different parts of the album, so it's like an overture but like fucked up and dissolving and like glitchy, and yeah. But then there's parts where it's also like the catchiest thing in the world, Those Who Can't Cheat, which is the big single that's by far the best song on the album, and like goddamn, that song fucking rocks my socks. It's super groovy and funky and trippy, and has an awesome fucking music video. The first song on this album cuts in very abruptly. When you turn it on, it'll just be really loud. It's just suddenly, ah! And then it calms down, and then the first track plays, right? The last song on the album builds up, and then cuts off. If you play it through, the last song is the first half of the first song.
Right.
So if you play the album on repeat, the song makes sense, and you can just leave it on loop all day, and it makes the most sense that way. And what I would always do is, because like I loved the song Those Who Can't Cheat so much, that I would always want to hear that first. So I would put the album in my playlist twice, start from Those Who Can't Cheat, and just listen to it all the way back through to the end. And that was my, like, for the, like, early in the year when I was listening to this album, like, constantly, that's what I would do a lot. Yeah, it's just like the fact that it's an album that loops back in on itself, that has so many sounds. Like the sounds are so dense that you can tell this dude spent forever working on it. He was spent 2 years putting this album together. You know, it's his debut album, so it's like crazy that he did all this on his first thing. But like, you can really feel the amount of like rumination and like how he tweaked little parts where there'll be just like little glitches at just the right moments to make like something that would have sounded like just a pop song change, you know. For instance, the song Blood Barf, which is like, it sounds like an NSYNC song from hell. And the music video is all just pictures of NSYNC or Justin Timberlake on magazine covers with the eyes and mouth crossed out.
The fuck?
It's like really trippy. But it's just like it's like collage of Justin Timberlake with his eyes drawn out. Ugh. And the chorus is "Living isn't no use, no use." It's like this really catchy poppy song, but then as it goes, it starts like tape skipping and like getting fucked up, and then it just like crashes and burns into hell. God, there's so many. Cancer in the Water, which is just like this big, fun, epic song about killing everyone by putting cancer in the water supply. It is fantastic. It's easily my favorite album of the year, one of my favorite albums of all time. And yeah, I hope to have it for years to come. So let me check the camera real quick before we get into our last... Apologies again for the camera having gone out. I have no idea how long it's been out. Probably the whole time I was talking about the last two albums. But we're on the last one.
Yeah.
Your album of the year?
Yeah.
Probably. This is my number 4. It could become my number 1 by next year. To Pimp a Butterfly by Kendrick Lamar.
Oh, yes.
Everyone's fucking favorite album.
Another fucking movie album.
Yeah. Oh my god.
I loved this album so much because it's one of the few albums that came out this year that personally I feel had something to really say, like some kind of message to convey. That like there is a reason for him to make this art, which is beyond just, you know, making money or
it is
expression.
High art.
It is.
I think it is without question high art.
It is incredible.
I would compare this, like what this album does for the medium of hip hop is like what. Or the genre of hip hop is like what Ava did for anime. Like
groundbreaking.
It's like that level of like so far beyond what anyone else is doing that it's like hard to believe it's real, you know? Yeah.
If this doesn't fucking win album of the year at the Grammys,
But dude, Taylor Swift.
Fuck Taylor Swift. Okay, like I listened to 1989.
Don't you know he got bad blood?
And he featured on that fucking song, too.
He did. He is on that song.
I guess
he made a really deep cut.
That album's just not good, but that's not the point. That this is an album I think was severely needed in this sort of like this time where like you know,
tumultuous period of American
history.
And
every day you're hearing about how, you know, cops are shooting kids or whatever, and you know, black people are subjugated and such, and a lot of people want to say that's like not a thing, but it
who the fuck is saying that? I think
go to anywhere in fucking Florida.
It's funny, like I've had this experience where you know, I talk a lot, well, not a lot, but like occasionally I'll bring up like gun control and stuff, and how I don't understand how we can allow ourselves to live in like such a violent country. And then I realized that like I think a lot of people don't get that because they don't listen to rap music. And like, because I listen to a lot of rap music and all of it paints this picture that this country is fucked if you're black. Like, this is not a place you want to live, you know? Like, I don't know that there's anywhere else you want to live, but like, you know, the constant harassment of police, the racism just that happens everywhere, the violence,
blatant,
you know,
accepted racism.
And the thing about Kendrick's music though is that it's it's also critical of black culture itself.
It is.
For being violent and for, perpetuating this cycle of violence. And, it's sort of like he at once sympathizes that, like, he understands that, like, it's not necessarily anyone's fault that they are in this culture, but that the culture itself is part of the problem, There's, like, one of the songs, is it The Black or the Berry, that's, like, entirely about how hypocritical it is that people are mad about all these cop shootings in the street, but then they're also gangbanging and killing each other. And he's, like, sort of pissed off about it.
That's like the closing line where he talks about
forced me to kill a nigga blacker than me. Hypocrite.
When
why was I weeping when Trayvon Martin was in the streets?
When gangbanging made me kill.
Right.
That fucking line fucked me up. And then there's like a little interlude after that, and it's like barefoot babies with no cares, teenage gun toters that don't play fair. Should I get out the car? What the fuck does he say? He says something. I see something bad. No, this is something much worse. The land of the landmines, the hell that's on earth. That's not like the line, but like, I don't know. That shit fucked me up. And yeah, what a great. I didn't like it at first.
I think what's to me the best part of the message of this album is that it's all, while it is social, it's mostly personal. It's mostly about him and like his experience with all this, and like, the penultimate song, the sort of like conclusion with I love myself, like where he fights all these battles throughout the songs, and like he sort of passes through all these different emotions where, the first song where it starts off, at first I did love you, but now I just wanna fuck, and it's like him sort of like being in this like dark place where he's just like, fuck it, fuck you, like I'm just this greedy, hungry motherfucker, he goes into For Free and he's like, this dick ain't free and all that. He gets into King Kunta, singing about how he's on top and how everyone's trying to bring him down. And then he sort of tears himself down through the midsection, gets into Loving You is Complicated, which the video for that just came out like today.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. The evils of Lucifer trying to like drag him down and everything. Corrupt him. And he like goes through this long sort of like indictment of himself, and then he comes out on like the social level. Like some of it's on the personal level, and then on the social level with songs like How Much a Dollar Cost and The Black or the Berry, where he's like, criticizing his place in society, but then ultimately coming to the conclusion that he loves himself and that, he wants to protect himself, and he wants us to, to move forward as a society and like sort of say, okay, well, we have to, everybody lack confident, but we got to come together. And the live version of I that's on the album is fantastic. I love the speech he gives afterwards.
Yes.
That speech is fucking incredible. I love the ridiculous Tupac interview that is the last 10 minutes of this album, where he interviews the ghost of Tupac.
For like the first time I heard that, I thought it was like I thought it was a little corny, to be honest, but like.
But at the same time, it's like, I like on the one hand, if it was anyone else in any other circumstance, it would come off really pretentious, right? Like because what happens at the end of this album is Kendrick Lamar interviews Tupac, and he pulled quotes from like Tupac videos and interviews, and like he asks him, like he like has a conversation with the interview clips. It's really clever and interesting. I think you could only possibly pull that off because Kendrick has talked before about how like Tupac came to him in his dreams and told him to rap and shit like that. And because he does it at the end of what may be the greatest landmark hip hop album of the last 20 years, like he can pull it off after he basically earned the right to do something like that. And like, it's a cool idea. So like, it's cool that someone did it.
And it wraps up the whole metaphor about To Pimp a Butterfly or whatever. Right. It addresses that. It talks about, the poem he recites, every, second or third song on the album. And then it does have the kind of like insightful conversation with Tupac where it talks about like black identity and, asserting your rights and not being fucked over, basically.
Right.
And another song I really liked, it's been my favorite lately, is Complexion. And I just love the message it sends.
Complexion don't mean a thing.
And I love the feature on it. I love that female rapper. I don't know her fucking name, but I want to get into her. I think she has like one album out, but I do like that song because I think it's not only talking about like white and black people. I think it's also even about like light skin and dark skin people. Yeah, and it's like it don't mean a thing.
He has brought up like, you know, because there is a lot of like racism among black people just between light and dark skin, and I've been to, you know, when I was at like an all black school. I hate saying that phrase, when I was at an all black school.
You talking about Bayside?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, when I lived in Richmond, I was like the only white kid.
Oh.
You know, I hate using that phrase because it makes it sound like whatever I'm about to say is an excuse, and I'm like, oh, I totally know black people. I'm not racist,
but
like, well, if you've been there, if you've been in that culture, which that was like, it was a gang school. You know, kids there were in gangs. You know, this was a school where like, I was in 9th grade. The girl who sat next to me was 14 and pregnant. The graduation rate was less than a third of the like school. Like there were a third as many seniors as there were freshmen. You know, there was fuckloads of students, hugely overcrowded school. You know, and inner city, underfunded. Lots of gangsters, lots of fucking bootleg selling in the school. There was a guy on every intersection of the school. There was a guy yelling, CDs, DVDs, and he'd have a fucking trench coat full of bootleg CDs and DVDs that he was selling. You know, like it is what it is. I went there, I saw it, and people were really, like, it was really shocking to me the amount that people referred to each other as that light-skinned guy or that dark guy. You know, like within the black community. Like, it, you know, I was the white kid, but everyone was judged by their skin color, you know, and there was like some outright racism over people being light or dark skinned, you know, or being African or something. And I think that's something that white people probably don't know a lot about, but that, you know, that Kendrick obviously has experienced a lot of and raps about. So yeah, that's all addressed in that song in an interesting way.
And another reason, like, To Pimp a Butterfly, like, really meant something to me is, like, as you know, like, I have a very multicultural family, like, stepmom's Japanese and such. I have a cousin, and he's half black, and it's not like I'm super, super close to him, but, like, before I had brothers, he doesn't have a brother, and so I was like, you know, me and you are brothers, his name's Joel, and, like, whenever I hear about, like, some person getting shot just because they're black, I'm like, my cousin could possibly be that person one day, and he's not, like, he doesn't do anything bad. I mean, he like drives a truck for like a semi truck across the country for a living, and the fact that he had to go to Alabama one time, and I'm just like,
be careful,
that place is fucked up, and you're like a trucker too. Like,
fucking Marcus was saying that about wasn't he in Alabama?
I'm sure he might have had to.
He's mentioned like people saying stuff like, you know, don't stray too far from the base, dude. You know.
Yeah, it's concerning because you know, I do enjoy my cousin. I love my cousin. He's a nice guy, you know, and it's pretty fucked that we gotta live in this society where you are judged and attacked because you're black or whatever.
I think what makes Kendrick's album stand out so much, you know, and there's a lot of here's the thing, like, because I loved Good Kid, Mad City, right? It's one of my favorite albums of all time. And that album's sort of about the same. It's about, you know, the violence in the streets and in the system.
I think that album is a lot more like his, like really his experience, like literally like something that happened to him.
Like,
and then To Pimp a Butterfly is more.
The thing about that album is that I think that album is more like Boys in the Hood, right? It's like that sort of, it's one story about, like, you know, this kid, but it's one story that's supposed to be indicative of what the experience is like for everyone. It's sort of like, this is what it's like in the hood type thing, you know? And that message got out so well because it was so conceptual and the album is so well put together. And, you know, but it also is a great pop album. You know, the songs have a lot of pop appeal. Nothing on that album is super weird. You know, like, the weirdest it gets is, like, Sing About Me, you know? And, like, I think it was an album that was plenty accessible and anyone could get into it. And there's even songs that kind of trick you, like Swimming Pools Prank,
exactly.
Which is, like...
It's like a party song.
It sounds like a party song, but it's about like, how drinking is bad and, like, ruins your life and stuff. Or Backseat Freestyle, where, like, in the context of the narrative, it's supposed to be a song he would have written when he was 16. But, like, the song, if you heard it and you didn't know that, you would just think it was some ridiculous over-the-top rap song, you know? And I think that album was really great, and the concept was great, and it hit really hard, but like it didn't feel. I guess I would say it felt more juvenile than this one, where like the ultimate message it was sending wasn't that different from what a lot of rappers are who are rapping about, living in the hood and stuff. One of the albums this year that I didn't get into specifically because the lyrical content was a little too like by the numbers for me was the Underachievers, who put out what was it called, Evermore, The Art of Duality, and like the beats on this album are incredible. It's like all fucking sick beats. But the lyrics and the MCs, it was all like, about living in the hood, being poor, growing up that way. And like, they were fine, but like, they didn't present it in a new way, in like an artful way, and like, I feel like if you're going to talk, if it's music, and you're trying to send a message in your music, like, it's one thing to send a message by telling people, like, this is what it's like in this community. This is, what we're dealing with. And it's like, okay, we need to do something about that, But when you're doing art, then you're trying to reach people through an avenue that they, like, I can't, like, instead of telling you, I'm going to show you through art, And to Pimp a Butterfly, like, I think Good Kid, Mad City was a great job of, like, showing you through art by, like, presenting a story, like a narrative. This one is more like pulled back and showing you the whole fucking picture of like the whole country, the whole of like what one man is thinking about. It's not about Kendrick Lamar being this good kid in this mad city. It's about his whole life. It's about everything he's dealing with. His arrogance, his personal issues, his things he's going through, and then relating it to society and how that affects his personal mind state, and the whole thing all comes back to him. It's all about Kendrick Lamar, but it's all how he thinks about and relates to all the things around him. And I think it's, in that way, a much bigger album, much broader in scope, but also, and it has the same thing that Good Kid, Mad City had, where it has some really accessible songs. King Kunta is a fucking instantly amazing song everyone loves. All Right, everyone fucking loved it, all over the radio. It has some songs like that, but it's also a really weird and out there album. Like, it is bizarre.
I used to listen to the first 3 songs when it first came out, and then I would just turn it off. But then I like made myself like keep listening to it, and like I would only listen to it all the way through now, or maybe like listen to All Right if I'm like walking somewhere. Like it is more musically adventurous, but it's not bad in any
when it
any
first
way.
came out, when I heard the first track, I was just like, what the fuck is this?
I loved the first track because I loved the sample. That's like a real song by like some reggae musician.
It's a 70s song.
That's a great song itself. And then I think it has Thundercat on it.
Yeah.
It might have Flying Lotus on it too, but it also has George Clinton, who is from Parliament Funkadelic and then his own solo act, and he's like, a mainstay in the funk community.
Yeah.
He's like the godfather.
It's a very like funky, like driving bassline song, but it's like creepy. The whole song is creepy, and it's got this like these weird disjointed vocals, and the whole thing sounds almost hellish. And like the first time I heard it, I was just like, I can't see myself listening to this like in the background ever, And I felt that way about King Kunta too, because the whole first minute has so long of gaps between the lyrics where he's like, I got a bone to pick. Boom. Boom, 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 and I was just like, man, where the fuck are the lyrics on this thing, and like the midsection of the album when it gets into like You and stuff like that, it's just like this nightmarish, trippy sounding stuff, and he's screaming and drunk and clanging bottles, and like when you listen to this, but here's the thing, when you listen to this album as a cinematic experience, you sit down and you listen to it, it is amazing. But if you try to listen to this album in the background, like just as music, then it's like, it's a lot harder, But the singles though, like King Kunta, All Right, The Blacker the Berry, and there's one other I love on there. I don't remember what it is right now. King Kunta, Blacker the Berry. For Free, that's the other one. Which For Free is just a fucking blast of a song, and the video is incredible. All the videos are incredible. All the music videos from this album are the best music videos ever, except for the single version of because I don't like that song.
I like the narrative of that song. Or I like the lyrics more. But yeah, for the whole album version, the live one fits that narrative a lot more.
I hate in the single version the chorus where it's just like the like megaphone voice. It sounds like shit. Yeah. I much prefer the like, oh, when you looking at me, tell me what do you see, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's an album that's like sort of difficult and esoteric, and like the few times that I have managed to listen to it all the way through, I've been really impressed with the lyrics and everything and the concept. But like, it's so hard to just listen to while doing anything else, you know? Like it's got so many like weird parts. It's got like, you know, spoken word. It's got him screaming, you know, and like fucked up beats that are hard to listen to at times, and like like when we just listened to You and For Sale, like the music video for those, like when you're watching the video and you're in there, you're like, whoa, this is awesome. But if you're sitting at your computer and you hear a guy yelling, "Let me use complicated, let me use complicated, let me use complicated," you're just like, what the fuck am I listening to, you know?
I definitely think it's an album that demands you pay attention to it. But yeah, I wouldn't like play it at a party or anything that people would be talking over. But
maybe the song "All Right" and King Kunta.
I don't think it would be that hard for me to play it in the background like doing homework maybe. Besides the fact that I think I would want to pay attention to the album more than that's just me.
I'm not saying that like music all needs to be listened to in the background. Like it's not a quality that music needs to have. But like, I just think for me, like there's only so many times, and like music as a medium for me, I can't just like sit and listen to music.
Really?
I have a really hard time just like not doing anything and listening to music. Like it's almost impossible for me. I have to do something at all times.
Like one of my favorite pastimes is to wake up and listen to an album just lying in bed doing nothing.
I have to like, I mean, even if it's just like jacking off, you know, like I have to do something.
I can't do that to me. I don't know, I just can't do that.
I can't be like sitting still listening to music. I have to occupy myself with something. So like for me, finding an hour and 20 minutes to just sit down and listen to the whole Kendrick Lamar album, and the thing is, like, if you watch a film, then you can usually parse the entire thing in one viewing, but I don't feel that way about music. I have to hear it a few times before I like get where it's coming from. Like, you know, I don't understand all the lyrics or like, you know, or what the concept is until I've heard it a couple times. And so like, yeah, I've always felt like with this album, I need more time with it. And maybe I'll get that time eventually, you know, because I every time I hear it, I like it more. You know, every song I've liked more every time I've heard it. And the singles I've gotten really into, you know, like All Right was like, by the end of the year, All Right was one of my favorite songs of the year.
That's another very important song. Sure, what was I gonna say?
I wrote the whole chorus on my party hat for 2015, like to show off, to end off the year. We've been low, we've been hurt, been down before. When our pride was low, looking at the world like where did we go? And we hate poor, trying to kill us dead in the streets for sure. I'm at the preacher's door, my knees getting weak and my gun might blow, but we gonna be alright.
I made my roommate listen to that while we drove from our school to where we live in Florida, which is a 5-hour drive. So I made him listen to it. I think I kind of turned him around a little bit because he was pretty
rap music.
No, he likes rap music. His like favorite artist is Logic. But he was just like, it's just too weird for me, man. But he liked King Kunta. I feel like I could get him into All Right.
It's definitely an album I've had to come around to. It did not have the instant... And you know, and I listen to pretty weird... Like, I think what I've said about Clarence Clarity...
Yeah, that is a fucking bizarre album.
I think a lot of people would not have as easy of a time just listening to that as I do, because it's chaotic, you know, and there's a lot going on. But, like, that album is, like, just the right level of chaos that I can totally listen to it. Whereas with Kendrick, there's songs that I just don't think are as good if you're not paying attention, you know, where like the lyrics are so important to what makes the song good, and knowing the narrative that like it's harder to listen to, which was not how like Good Kid, Mad City was an album I could listen to in the background. And I did a lot, you know, like I listened to it fucking hundreds of times probably. And you introduced me to that.
That I still
Bitch
can't
Don't
believe.
Kill My Vibe.
I can't believe that I can't believe I showed you Sufjan and I showed you Kendrick Lamar.
Yeah, both through just you posting them on your own Facebook page, and I clicked
awesome.
on it, and I didn't even listen to rap
actually,
at the time.
the guy I had lunch with today, he showed me Sufjan and Kendrick. Actually, he's the one that turned me on to them. So
interesting.
Yeah,
it's a chain of command.
Yes.
I then turned on everyone I know to
Yes.
everything I listened to.
But I'll agree with you that it took me a few listens to really get into the album. But like in the last 2 months or so, I just was like, okay, we're gonna listen to the whole thing now, and then like the next day I would do it again, and then one day I think I did it 2 or 3 times like in that one day.
And I'm not ordinarily one to make like a distinction between like my favorite and the best.
Yeah.
But like with To Pimp a Butterfly, like as a piece of art, I have by far the most respect for it of any album of the last like 5 years.
Yeah.
Like it's the first time I've listened to an album and I felt like the message was so strong and it was so well crafted and well considered. It's been 3 years since Good Kid, Mad City, and everyone sort of had that feeling like Kendrick blew us away with that last album. How could he possibly top it? And he did. And he did to an extent that I honest to God, I find Good Kid, Mad City harder to listen to now because To Pimp a Butterfly is better, in my opinion. Like, just the concept and the intelligence behind it is so much stronger that, like, it makes Good Kid, Mad City sound more basic and more primitive.
It does to a degree.
And this is coming, like, I always felt like about Kendrick that, like, each of his albums is a huge step up from the previous one. You're like, Overly Dedicated, I'm not into it all. Section 80 I didn't really like that much, but I felt like it was a huge step up. And then Good Kid, Mad City was a huge step up from Section 80. And this is a huge step up from Good Kid, Mad City. And that's exactly like Fantano had said, like in his review, because he had given Good Kid, Mad City a 9. And he said everyone got on his ass about it and said, how could it ever get better than this? And he said, here you go. Like it just got better than this.
Yeah.
And I sort of feel the same way. Like it's such a huge artistic statement. And I mean, I know some people are going to be completely sick of us sucking this album's dick for so long.
I will never not suck this album's dick.
That's why we put this at the back end of the show, because we knew we'd talk about it for a while.
So. I mean...
I feel
like it's there, but it's not.
I do want to buy it. That album and We Cool, I need to get on vinyl.
But, yeah.
Probably something else.
Album of the year. Great album. I wonder what he will do next. I can't see it getting any better than this, but I pray to God
I think he's probably going to spend a few years doing like a lot of collabs and shit.
I feel, yeah.
A lot of speculation about him doing a J. Cole.
Yeah, the J. Cole. Apparently that shit's like already like done. Like J. Cole posted like, he posted this a while ago. It's like, oh, we like already finished it. We're just going to fucking drop it out of the sky one day. And I'm sure he'll do something with J. Cole. I'm sure he'll do something else too, but I feel like he'll probably tour as well. Hopefully.
I think he's put himself into a position now where he will, without question, be remembered as one of the greatest hip hop artists.
He's definitely like the most prolific
Good Kid, Mad
City
time. Was prolific's not the word you're looking for.
You don't think he's prolific?
That means you make a lot of music.
Prolific.
Yeah, prolific means you make a lot. You're thinking. I don't remember the word you're thinking of, but yeah. Anyway. He will definitely, like, because Good Kid, Mad City, people were already calling a classic. And, like, now we've got this, and it's like, this guy's, like, killed it. He's killed the rap game. It's over. He won for now, Like, it's going to be a while before anyone makes something more than this. So, yeah. Good job, Kendrick. Jesus Christ.
God bless.
Yeah. And that's it for our favorite albums of 2015.
2016.
And I'm feeling great.